What's up, Krugs?
What's going on?
Long time no talk.
It's been a little while.
Let's talk some baseball.
I'm for it.
I know you're a baseball guy. I'm a baseball guy. Greatest sport going today.
Absolutely. Best playoffs in sports.
It's October, though. It's October 1st. Reds and Pirates are playing the wild card play-in game.
PNC Park is on fire right now.
Yeah, Johnny Cueto seems to be, the wheels seem to be coming off. He's given up a home run to Russell Martin and a home run to Marlon Byrd.
They were no doubters.
Two big acquisitions, by the way,
Yeah.
for the Pirates. I mean, Martin was with the Yankees, came over. I don't know if he signed a 1-year or 2-year deal with the...
I think they gave him a 2-year deal, like similar to what the Red Sox gave Johnny Gomes. I think it was 2 and 10, somewhere around there.
Not a bad little pickup.
He did a really good job, and great catch if he caught it.
He did.
He did. Great catch.
Todd Frazier, third baseman for the Reds, just ran over to the crowd, the third base crowd, and...
Take a note of that. That could be a big play.
Yeah, the Pirates had something going. They had 2 guys on. They're up 2-0. Still early in the game, but you never know. It's playoff baseball. The games last 4 hours. There are rain delays. There are snow delays. They're going to play into November. The weather's cold. I love it.
It's awesome.
I love
Nothing
it.
beats it.
Yeah, it's again the Pirates' first time they've been in the playoffs since the early '90s, since the Barry Bond
Tom's
days.
excited. They're going nuts there. It's great.
Yeah, they were chanting.
Steelers are 0-4.
Yeah, they're just the fans just want to cheer for something. They don't, oh, thank God a team is winning.
Oh man!
But they got the Penguins and Sidney Crosby starting soon. So, which by the way, NHL hockey is starting soon. I think
the Bruins open on Thursday, right?
That's crazy.
Yeah.
But our focus right now is baseball, playoff baseball, something we've been doing for a couple of years. You put your heart and soul into it.
I go a little over top.
I appreciate it, and it's funny because I get tons of emails, a lot of junk emails on my Yahoo, a lot of from the stores I shop at, I get emails, so I delete everything, and then I save a couple. I have 2 or 3 in my mailbox that I haven't deleted, and one of them is your predictions. Every season, spring training, right before the regular season starts, you send me predictions on what you think's going to happen during the regular season, and it is impossible to predict. Injuries, basically injuries screw things up, but things happen.
Yeah, a lot of things happen.
You do your best to look into your crystal ball and try to predict. And when I say you put your heart and soul into it, you do. I have my iPad up right now, and I'm looking at your 2013 MLB predictions. You have a MLB logo on the cover, and but by the way, that intro song, Black and Yellow, we played it in honor of Pittsburgh tonight, so their
Raise the Jolly Roger.
Yeah, their team colors are black and yellow. But getting back to your predictions, and I'm not gonna make fun of you.
No, I mean I was wrong. There was
You had the Red Sox finishing 4th.
I did.
In
correct.
the East.
Correct. Not in the American League. In the East.
They finished with the best record in baseball, which I think is quite a turnaround from where they were last year. But let's pick apart the AL East for a second. Let's talk about what you thought was going to happen and what ended up happening.
Yep.
You had the Blue Jays. I think a lot of people got excited.
They were the sexy pick, and I went with it.
Yeah. You caught wind of those trades they made?
Yeah.
Which, looking back now, they made a trade pretty much for a quarter of the Miami Marlins team.
Yep.
The Marlins weren't any good. So what in the world made us think the Blue Jays were going to be any good with the Marlins' crappy players?
You know who I thought was going to be the difference maker in that trade was Josh Johnson, and he was downright terrible this year. And one of the reasons why I thought it's because he is going into a free agent year. So this was his contract year. I always thought he had the stuff. I just always looked at him on the mound and man, he's got a chance to be a dude.
Big build,
6'7". I think he's 240. Just a big human being. So you really look at it. So Josh Johnson, was always a big fan of him. He had some injury issues in the past, but Mark Burley has been that guy that every rotation needs. You look at all the teams in the playoffs, everyone in the playoffs right now has a Mark Burley. He's not going to, give you a 2.2 ERA, but he's going to eat innings. He always wins games. His ERA is around 4. And Jose Reyes, and you know what? I think it was you that pointed out. I've lost faith in Jose Reyes. I think he's a me player, if you ask me. He's a me kind of
talent.
Guy. Yeah, he's got a chance to be amazing. Cripple that. Reyes got hurt, so he missed 2 months. I think he hurt his shoulder, ankle. And you know what? They got off really slow. They were like 2-10 at one point. Reyes gets hurt. Johnson gets hurt.
Can I tell you why they sucked?
Sure.
John Gibbons.
Yes, and John Gibbons, he just always had that look in the dugout like, what am I doing?
John Gibbons, it drives me nuts. In Toronto, for some reason, they did it with Cito Gatson.
Yeah.
They did it with John Gibbons. I hate when they bring guys back, unless you're like
especially with John Gibbons, because remember when he fought Ted Lilly in the tunnel?
Yeah.
And it's not like he managed, so you look at Cito Gaston. Cito Gaston at least managed 2 World Series teams in Toronto. John Gibbons managed 3 teams that were 40 games below by 500. It wasn't like
Let's bring him back.
Yeah, what the heck?
Got the most talented team we've had in years. Let's bring John Gibbons in.
Yeah.
But it boggles my mind.
I also, to be honest, I thought Bautista was going to be a little better. He didn't have any serious injuries, but it was always something. They shut him down at the end of the year because they saw the writing on the wall. But he wasn't as good. I think I might be wrong, but I think he was my AL MVP too.
Yeah, I believe you did pick him to be your AL MVP, Jose Bautista. So, yeah, but going through the rest of your predictions for the East Division in the American League, you had the Blue Jays, the Rays, the Yankees, the Red Sox, and the Orioles finishing in that order. The Orioles finishing last. So you had the Yankees, the Rays, and the Blue Jays finishing ahead of the Red Sox. Granted, it was a complete disaster last year for the Red Sox.
Yeah.
They were coming off the chicken and bear thing, the Francona, the collapse in 2011. Then they fast forward to Bobby Valentine, the blockbuster trade to ship Gonzalez, Crawford, and Beckett out to the Dodgers with Nick Punto. Can't forget about him. So it was anyone who says they predicted or could see them being the best team in baseball record-wise this season, I don't believe them.
When people asked they'd be like, where do you legitimately see the Red Sox? I said I can see them at 500, 81. And my reasoning was, if they won 69 games the year before. If they go 81-81, that's a 12-game improvement. That's a pretty significant improvement. Now, saying that, they had, a 27-game improvement. It's off the charts. Didn't see it coming, be the first to admit it. Did things that, didn't like the Shane Victorino signing.
I was going to read you a quote.
Yeah.
Because again, in your predictions, you have not only the teams in order, but you write a paragraph about each one and why you think they'll be there. And one of the lines you wrote was, Shane Victorino didn't excite me, but I think he wants to be here and can handle a big market, and that is huge.
Yeah.
Couldn't agree with you more. He's that type of ball player, especially after watching him on a day-in, day-out basis.
Yep.
Played banged up the whole season.
Yeah, and he was awesome.
Ran into walls. I think I made the remark before that he is Trot Nixon, except better.
And you know what the one thing, and I remember talking to you about this, and the one thing that excited me going back to that is, I said, man, $39 million over 3 years for Victorino is a lot, too much. But you know what? He turned down 48 with the Indians because he wanted to come to Boston, and he did it in Philadelphia. He won in Philadelphia. I didn't think it was going to be like, to be honest, I thought they gave Gomes too much money. He's been worth it. I was always on the Napoli bandwagon. I love the Napoli signing. You know what? They went out and got guys that fit well, and I give Cherington credit. Where at least he said, look, I don't know how good we're going to be, but we're going to have guys that want to be here, and we're going to have guys that can handle the big market.
Did the Yankees finish ahead of the Orioles, or did the Orioles finish ahead of the Yankees?
I think the Orioles finished ahead.
So the results this year were the Red Sox atop the East, followed by the Rays.
Rays, Orioles, Yankees, and Blue Jays, I believe.
Okay, so that's that. I guess the Eastern Division is when your predictions with the AL Central, the Tigers, Indians, White Sox, Royals, and Twins. I guess your top two, you mentioned to me earlier that the Indians actually, when it was all said and done, ended up only being one game
out.
One game out behind the Tigers.
It's crazy to think about.
They end the season on a 10-win.
I tweeted this out just randomly because I still convince people to read my tweets, which probably they don't. But you really look at the Indians; they won 10 must-win games in a row. They lose one of those, they're in the the Wild. They're in some kind of playoff. They lose 2. They go 8-2. They're out of the playoffs. And I still think, and I texted you, Terry Francona is the best manager in the game. Am I biased? Absolutely.
You really think Francona is the best manager in the game?
Yes, I think he is. I think he proved himself. And I saw someone. If he wins a World Series in Cleveland, let's say, he's a Hall of Famer. Now that's really putting the cart before the horse. But
imagine not only winning a World Series in Boston, but then getting Cleveland a championship. I actually felt bad for that town.
Yeah,
that city, you know.
Yeah, I thought they were going to be there. I'm pretty sure I didn't have them going. I had them missing the playoffs, being like the third place in the wild card. Didn't think Jimenez was going to be this good. I'll tell you what, if I'm the Indians and he started doing it, Masterson's my closer. His stuff is awesome.
The talks today is that he's going to close ball games.
I would say, hey, look, you're my guy. I watched him on Saturday, I think it was. They had the Fox game, and he came in. Oh, lights out. He was awesome. We talked about Josh Johnson, big guy, big human being. Yeah.
Justin Masterson's the same way. He's got that funky kind of sidearm submarine.
He's got
great movement, but he's a big boy.
Yeah,
he's a big. I liked him. I think Greg could vouch for me on this, but I've always been a Justin Masterson fan.
Justin Masterson and Jed Lowry, the two that got away.
Jed Lowry, nothing flashy, but he gets the job done.
He hits, man. The problem with him was he couldn't stay healthy.
Kansas City Royals. I think I in my predictions that I sent to you, I think I had them finishing ahead of the Indians.
Yep.
I thought James Shields would elevate that pitching staff.
He did.
He did, and I know people call him Big Game James, and I think that bothers you a little bit.
Yeah. I respect him though.
Yeah, no, I respect him, and he takes the ball and he throws a lot of innings. And, you know, is it going to catch up with them? Yeah, probably. It will.
I don't think he cares much, though.
The Royals did extend Ned Yost another couple years. So they, they've got a team intact right now. I'll be curious to see if they take a step forward or step back next season. But they were close.
They were, and you know what? They were the world's streakiest team. Win 10, lose 8. Win 7, lose 6. I mean, they won, 12 in a row at some point? They got right back into it, then they lost 7 in a row, and it was they were there. You can't do that.
Hey, let me ask you this: how important is it? Because we saw it with the Red Sox last year, and we saw it with them this year. How important is it for a team to get off to a good start? Because it seems like going down the stretch in these games, like, you know, that the Rays and the Rangers and all these teams, you know, had to really fight and use their everyday guys and not give the players the rest they needed. How important is it for a team to get off to a hot start?
I think it's important. You know, the saying always goes, you can't win a pennant in April, but you can lose it, you know.
Yeah.
And I don't think it didn't end up affecting them because they went to the World Series last year. But you remember the Tigers last year. They were in second the whole year. They were awful.
Yeah.
And by Tiger standard, they were floating around 500. Then they finally got hot in September to take the division from the White Sox. I think you look at a team like the Royals, very, very slow start. I mean, it's one thing to come out and, you know, you're playing your 15-15 through 30. You know, if you're 10-20 and you look back and I think they were probably 3 or 4 out in the wild card.
Heading to the next division, the AL West.
Yeah.
I think no team was affected more by a slow start than the team you picked to finish first, the Angels.
Yep. They fell for it again.
They were not good. I fell for it, too. I thought they were going to be good.
You know what I said?
They went off in the offseason. They signed Josh Hamilton to a big
and you know the reason why I liked it is because I thought it was for the right amount of years. They said, we're going to give you, maybe not the right amount, but they didn't go crazy and give him like 10 years. They said, look, we're going to give you a boatload of money, but it's going to be more towards a shorter term, which I thought was okay. He was terrible. He was awful this year.
Oh,
I mean, if he was average, they would have, you know, and back to the slow start, he started so bad. He was awful at the beginning of the year.
Just think about if Pujols stayed healthy, if Hamilton was half of what he was, and Pujols was a little bit of what he was, to go with Trumbo and Trout, take a little pressure off of Howie Kendrick.
I mean, Weaver got hurt. C.J. Wilson had a very, very good year.
Did he finish with 17 wins?
16-6.
No
and
kidding.
his ERA was like 3.2. They had him randomly, I'm listening to Toucher and Wrist, and they're like, and we've got C.J. Wilson on. I'm like, C.J. Wilson? He's not even in town. Anyways, they had him on and, they were talking to him, and he was talking, I think it was about his charity or whatever, and he was saying, he goes, they finally asked him, like, all right, man, this was like mid-August, they were awful. And he goes, what's this year been like? He's like, tell me the truth. And he goes, I certainly wasn't in Boston last year, but this has got to be worse than that. He goes, it's been terrible. Yeah. Coming to the ballpark has been miserable because everyone's down, because we played so bad. It kind of give you an idea of what it's, I just thought I never heard anyone be so real about it. You say, we're still fighting, and he just said, yeah, it's been terrible.
You had them finishing second, you had the Oakland Athletics, and I'm going to read you a couple sentences of the paragraph that you wrote for them.
Yep.
You said, the Athletics has something going on with this team. They just have that attitude where they don't give a beep.
Yep.
They play the game hard, never quit, and don't fear anyone. You said most baseball fans can't name 5 players on their team, which I think you're right.
Yeah.
But I like where you said they just have that attitude where they don't give a bleep.
Yeah.
And they don't.
They don't.
They're young enough where you talk about people not fearing the opposing players. I think they respect the game.
Yeah, they
do.
And
they play the game the right way. But they don't care if they're facing, Randy Johnson or Pedro Martinez.
Mark, mark my words, I'm sure they're certainly probably not, excited for it, but they are not afraid of Max Scherzer and Justin Verlander. Will they win the series? I personally say no, but it's not going to be because they're afraid of them, or they're awestruck. I just think they play the game. Are they a little weird? Yeah. They've got, and I'll tell you one guy who always sticks out when I watch him is Coco Crisp. I always had a big respect for Coco Crisp. Obviously, he won a World Series here. If you remember, though, he was really struggling in the postseason. They finally put Jacoby in. And the one thing I'll always respect about him is he never said anything. He always just played. And God knows he didn't like it because the next year they had him again, and, he was playing sparingly.
Do you remember it was the reverse situation the following playoffs?
Yeah.
Jacoby was struggling.
Yeah.
Coco was playing.
Yeah.
It was real weird, but anyways.
And he never said anything, and I'm sure it was eating him up big time, and he was pissed and everything, but he just kind of played, and I think I always liked that about him. Just a personal thing. I always have wished for him to succeed since he's left, and he's done a great job in Oakland.
20-something home runs. Brandon Moss, 30 home runs. Josh Reddick took a step back. He had such a monster year.
Jed Lowry, he's one of those guys. He can hit you some home runs. They just have a lot of guys that do good things.
The division actually, it ended up Oakland. They won the division by a few games. Texas finished in second. They lost to the Rays in that extra play-in or the extra game last night, so their season's over. You remember going into this season, last off season, there was a lot of talks about the Rangers possibly getting Justin Upton.
Yep.
Possibly getting Zach Greinke.
Yep.
Neither of that happened.
They might have literally had the worst off season ever.
Yeah, things didn't fall their way. So when you look back,
remember there was also rumors they were going to trade for James Shields. They didn't get him either.
Yep.
They literally every person they went out to get, they got 0 of them.
The Mariners were my sleeper team.
Yep.
With King Felix.
Yep. Who had another fantastic year.
Yeah, and again, I don't know what they. I don't know.
You're wasting huge years from King Felix.
Yes, thank you. And it's just a matter of time before it's going to go by. It's been going by quick, and it's year after year where he's competitive and he throws the ball well, and they just have nothing around him. And it is what it is. They tried bringing in Cliff Lee a few seasons ago, and that lasted for half the year.
I too remember that.
Yeah, Cliff Lee bounced around for a little while, and then at the bottom of the division, the Houston Astros, which this is weird, but I think eventually, give it a little bit of time, but I think they will get there.
They've got some people in the farm system. It's just
Eric
Wedge decided not to come back.
Okay, so we'll stick with the AL for now. You've got the Rays traveling to Cleveland tomorrow night to play in the play-in wild card game.
Yep.
Who wins that game? It's going to be Cobb versus Salazar.
Yep.
I believe. Nice young arm for Cleveland.
Yes.
Throws the ball well.
Nice young arm for Tampa as well.
Yeah, Cobb actually took one off the noggin this year, and he missed a little time, but he throws well, and he came back. And
I'm going to say, with very, very little confidence, I'll take Cleveland.
Really?
Yeah. Something about them going back home. I mean, it's just home field. You know what intrigues me the most is, surprisingly, despite playing this game, whoever wins, how well their team's that team's pitching matches up for the division series. Because if you look at it, let's say the Indians win, they have Ubaldo Jimenez who can go game 1. And if the Rays win, they have Matt Moore who can go game 1 and David Price who can go game 2 on regular rest. I thought that was interesting.
As a Red Sox fan?
No, that's not good as a Red Sox fan.
I want Cleveland to win.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't want to see Tampa Bay.
Yeah, they've got arms. They've got, Longoria seems to be getting hot.
Matt Moore doesn't scare me. David Price, though?
Yeah.
He's locked in.
Yeah, he looked really... You know what? Last night was the definition of the Rangers let him settle in. They had a chance to put a couple on early, like the Pirates are doing now, and they squandered those opportunities, and they let him settle in. And when they had someone warmed up, when Madden warmed someone up, I was yelling at the TV, you can't take him out. I don't care how many pitches, because his innings 6, 7 were awesome. Yes. So you can't take him out. You got to let him go. I was glad that from a baseball, I was glad him to let him go the 8th, and I was even gladder he would let him go the 9th too.
So your division series matchups would be Cleveland and Boston.
Yep.
And then we have Oakland and Detroit.
Yep.
So let's start with Oakland and Detroit. They matched up last year. The Tigers 1-5.
Yep.
We've got Scherzer, Verlander, Sanchez, and then Fister.
Yep.
Going for Detroit. Loaded pitching staff.
Mm-hmm.
Who wins that series, and why?
I'm gonna take the Tigers, and I think it's gonna go 5 again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This time, Oakland has Oakland had home field last year as well.
Last year too.
Wow.
Remember
because Verlander game 5.
He was
pitched
awesome.
A gem.
Oh my goodness.
Okay.
I think they have Verlander and they have Miguel Cabrera.
Arguably the best
pitcher and the best hitter. Definitely the best hitter. Arguably the best pitcher.
Over a career, I guess.
Yeah.
This year, no,
yeah.
But yeah.
I think it's going to be tough, man. The Tigers are the Tigers bullpen scares me a little bit. Their closer. Closer scares me.
I don't think you need to go out if you're a team and spend big money on a closer.
Yeah.
But I do think it helps to have someone who's reliable down there.
Yeah.
Like Uehara, I've gotten to a point where he doesn't throw super hard, but when he's out there, okay, I feel comfortable with him.
I think I just don't know if the Athletics have enough firepower. We talked about how good they have good players, but do they have that one guy? That one guy.
Cespedes maybe with like power,
but he's hurt,
Yeah.
So I don't. Yes, I would say he could. Yeah, he can definitely run into one, no question. But I would say I'm going to take the Tigers. Tigers in 5.
So Tigers in 5. That leads to the reunion in Boston. It would be Francona and his Cleveland Indians taking on John Farrell and his Boston Red Sox.
Yep.
What's your take on that?
I'll take the Red Sox in 4.
Yeah?
Too much pitching, too many arms, too much depth. Again, another team where their bullpen isn't strong. Again, we talked about Masterson. I think Masterson's awesome. I think he would be great as a closer in the role. Long term, he's a starter. But I'm just saying now. Perez has really struggled. I just don't know if they have the pitching depth to match up with the Red Sox. For them to be able to go Lester, Buchholz, really a rejuvenated Lackey, and then Peavy, that's pretty good.
We're very critical on the Red Sox because we see them every day and we listen to sports radio and we pick apart every small thing that they do wrong.
Yep.
So I'm always curious to see what somebody in Chicago or somebody down south from afar, who gets to see them play once a week, once every other week.
Yeah.
What do they think of the Red Sox? Do they think they're a fluffy
Yeah.
I think back to 2004 in the Cardinals when the Sox played them in the World Series, and I think the Cardinals had won over 100 games that year.
They won 100, yeah.
Yeah, they had Edmonds and Rowland and Pujols, and it was like, oh man, like these guys are stacked.
Matheny was catching.
But then they played in the World Series, and you're like, wow, this team is soft as heck.
Yeah.
So, you know, I hope the Sox aren't soft, but I wonder how other people look at it.
I also like you got some guys that have done it. You know, you've got Pedroia who's won a World Series. You've got Ortiz who's won 2. Napoli's been to a World Series. If they win that World Series, he's probably a World Series MVP. I think their bullpen's in a little better shape. It's become their issue is more 7-8 inning. I think 9th is pretty. You're like you just said. You're pretty comfortable with Uehara.
What do you think of the Sox and the way they lined up their rotation? They got Lester going game 1, Lackey going game 2, Buchholz 3, and then Peavy 4.
I'm okay with it. Buchholz, him recovering from a start scares the heck out of me. That's why I'm okay with Lester going 1. Have you seen Lackey's home and road splits? It's like
home. He's a lot better pitcher.
He's unbelievable at home and very average on the road. Plus, you know what? You probably have your best arm going on the road. So game 3, you know, worst case, and you're down 0-2. You know, at least I got my best arm going right now.
Are you surprised that they went with Peavy over Dubront?
No.
Really?
As much as I love Dubront, I think Peavy's pitched better.
Okay. Really?
Yeah.
I don't know the stats. I just have this weird feeling that Dubront. I know they gave him a little extra rest.
Yeah.
But I thought he pitched good this year.
I thought he did great. I just think again you've got a guy that's kind of been there. You know, he competes very well. I like Peavy. I think it was a good signing or pickup, I should say.
Okay, so you've got the Red Sox versus the Tigers in the ALCS.
Yep.
Sox have home field advantage throughout the playoffs, so it started in Boston. I think they're on a collision course. I think it's unless something weird happens, these two teams are going to be playing each other in the ALCS. Oh, what do you think?
It could be one for the ages. To be honest with you, I think it's
Sox in 4.
No, Sox in 3. I'm gonna take. It's gonna be a tight one. I think going for the home field is gonna help them out. I think having that 7th game at home, being able to play it at Fenway, I'll take the Red Sox in 7.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you look up and down. I mean, these teams pitching match up. Offensively, you give the advantage probably to Detroit. Their 3-4-5's a little better. Bullpen, you give it to the Red Sox.
The 3-4-5 is different. You know, like Detroit had, well, at least like I'm looking at Cabrera and Fielder.
Yeah.
And then you look at like Pedroia and Ortiz.
Yeah.
You know, and they're both. I think Pedroia is an excellent hitter.
Yeah. But
they're different types.
Oh yeah, Pedroia. I don't even think Pedroia had 10 home runs this year. I think he had like 9.
Yeah.
But he still drove in 85 runs, and you know, I think depth in the Red Sox lineup is what's going to help them.
So you got the Red Sox winning the pennant.
Yep.
Nice.
Is that a homer pick or no?
No. I think you had the who'd you have winning the AL?
The Tigers.
The Tigers.
Yeah. No, excuse me, the Angels.
Oh, you had the Angels. That's correct. You had the Angels over the a team that didn't make the playoffs in the NL. All right, so we'll close the book on the AL. Actually, let me ask you this: you had Batista as your MVP, and I believe you had Jared Weaver as your AL Cy Young. Jared Weaver, Batista as your MVP, and your Rookie of the Year, Will Myers.
Yep.
So you may be on with the Will Myers thing.
I think it's him or Iglesias.
Really?
I think, yeah.
Well, let me ask, looking back now on the season, I mean, who do you think's going to win these awards? Who's the AL MVP?
Miguel Cabrera.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You don't give it to Chris Davis?
I would.
He had monster numbers.
He
steroids
did.
or no steroids?
You
still have to hit the ball.
Yeah. I just, I think only because he made the playoffs. Miguel Cabrera, he was awesome this year. I'll tell you what, I think Davis caught up to him a little bit because Miguel missed some time. I think they I don't want to say they thought they had the division wrapped up, but they were, in a little better position. Everyone wants to throw it at Scherzer. I'll tell you what, Darvish was awesome. Darvish was awesome this year.
my new favorite pitcher.
Yeah, Yu Darvish was awesome. He's not going to win it, but what Koji Uehara did was awesome.
Yeah,
he was lights out all year. It's going to be Scherzer. 21-3 is pretty impressive, but
you can't ignore that.
Yeah, you can't ignore that, but I just feel like people are ignoring some of the, the other. I think obviously if Buchholz stayed healthy, who knows what would happen. I mean,
yeah, what did he finish 12-1?
12-1. His ERA I think was still below 2.
Wow.
I mean, he was awesome. So.
And Rookie of the Year?
Will Myers. I think it's Will Myers.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, I do think it's Will Myers.
I forget how many games he actually ended up playing. I think it might have been 90-something for the Rays this year. But he finished with like 50-something RBI, and
I think it was 53. I was on the broadcast.
I think over the course of a full season, it would come out to maybe 25, 30 homers, 100-plus RBI. Yeah. So he's getting there, and I think he's going to be that power guy. The Rays.
He's not a huge guy. Like he's not. Yeah, he's a little skinny guy.
But you have him and Longoria for the next few years.
That's a nice. Yeah.
It's a nice little combo. So I just think the Rays will
They've got Longoria locked up for like another 6 years or so.
They signed him to a long contract when they
he came up for like 10 days.
Yeah, they're like, all right, you're staying with us forever. All right, moving on to the National League, the senior circuit. Nationals, Braves, Phillies, Mets, Marlins. Marlins obviously were terrible. The Mets actually weren't as bad as I thought they would be.
They were,
The Phillies ended up canning Charlie Manuel, giving the reins to Ryan Sandberg, I guess, a half season sooner than anyone expected.
Yep.
The Braves were a lot better, I think, than people thought. And then the Nationals were just a huge disappointment. They gave it a little run at the end, but
that goes back to your starting. How did you start? And it's not like
Nationals started good,
but the problem with the Nationals is they didn't really start bad. The Braves were so hot. You remember, in mid-May, they were up 11 games. The Nationals were literally at 500, but the Braves were so hot. They were 11 games out before Memorial Day.
I think everybody, not just you and me, but everybody had the Nationals penciled in to, if not win the World Series, get to it, or go far into the playoffs.
I think the problem Herring was a disappointment. Zimmerman pitched very well. Strasburg wasn't Strasburg. He was good
deal. He missed a couple. He got his final start was pushed back. And it makes me nervous because I feel like they kept pushing him back because they were still in it, but they weren't in it.
Yeah.
But forearm tightness.
Yeah.
Forearm tightness.
Yeah. Every time you hear
that,
100
miles per hour.
Zimmerman was Ryan Zimmerman was hurt. It just never came together.
They'll have a new manager next year.
Yep.
Davey Johnson.
That'd be I'll tell you again. We talk about that'd be a great spot. Joe Girardi.
It will.
There's a lot of talent there. You can win right away.
There's a lot of good coaching jobs available.
I would even put the Angels as a good coaching position.
Yeah.
I mean, you really in the context you're really going into a spot where your 2, 3, 4 is Trout, Pujols, and Hamilton, and Trumbo at 5.
Let's talk about this for a second. You're going to potentially have the New York Yankees.
Yep.
You could potentially have you're going to have the Washington Nationals.
Yep.
You're going to have the Chicago Cubs.
Yep.
Which I'm sorry, I am intrigued by the Cubs job because
it's still a big job.
But just imagine bringing that town a world, being the manager who leads.
But not only that, they're gonna they've got money. They can go get an Ellsbury. They can go get a guy like that.
You potentially could have Texas.
Yep.
The Arizona with Kirk Gibson, that job could open up. You got some. There's some teams out there who Cincinnati with Dusty Baker, if they lose this game, it's going to be interesting. But anyways, the NL East ended up the Braves ran away with the division. The Nationals finished the distant second.
I want to say they were 8 or 9 out or something like that, or 7.
Yeah, so your Eastern Division.
Braves are really on cruise control since about August 1.
Yeah, Craig Kimbrell, I think, finished with 50 saves.
Yeah.
Tim Hudson, they lost him for the year. Nasty
breakage. The Braves the Braves. The impressive part with the Braves, if you really look at it, they had some guys had some really bad years, but they still won.
I think Dan Ugla batted under 200.
B.J. Upton did too as well.
Is he even on the playoff roster?
I have no idea. Freddie Freeman was awesome this year. Jason Hayward was hurt, so they had guys in and out. Hudson got hurt, but they still won.
Moving on to the NL Central, maybe the most competitive division in all of baseball. We're looking at two teams right now, the Pirates and the Reds, who are playing to get into the playoffs, or I guess this is technically the playoffs.
Yeah.
But the winner of this game goes on to play another NL Central team.
The Cardinals.
The Cardinals ended up winning the division. Okay.
Good pitch.
Followed by the Pirates and then the Reds. The Brewers and the Cubs were at the bottom of the division. And the Cubs, as we mentioned, fired their manager. But you weren't too far off with your predictions. You had the Reds winning the division. You had the Cardinals and then the Pirates. But yeah, I think this division, out of all the ones in baseball, was the most competitive from top to bottom, from start to finish. I think the animosity, these teams don't like each other.
I was just going to say that. The Reds don't like the Pirates don't like the Reds and the Cardinals have gotten to it in the past. The Pirates are starting to get into it with the Cardinals. It's the most competitive division, but I think one of the things that I enjoy about it is they're not, to be honest with you, I wouldn't be surprised if next year the Brewers got into it and the Reds fell off and the Pirates are up there, and maybe the Cubs get hot. There's not like that same team every year. The Tigers might win the Central for the next 5 years. There's gonna be other, the other teams aren't far off. You've got some teams that, they're not huge spenders, so they got to require to go through their, farm system. They've got to hit on some of their stuff, and like the Russell Martins, the Marlon Birds, stuff like that. But it's competitive. They hate each other, and they play each other a ton. They've played each other a ton down the stretch. They're going to playing each other tonight. The winner plays the Cardinals, so you're going to have them for another week.
What do they feed these guys in St. Louis? Because it seems like every other week somebody in their system
comes up,
throwing a no-hitter, throwing 95 out of the bullpen. Do they juice these guys up in the minors? I mean, what's going on? Because
I think they're that good at talent evaluating.
Yeah, you think so?
I mean, they've had guys come through their system. Carpenter?
Yeah.
He's getting 200 hits.
I sent you that text the other day. Thank you for bringing that up. I'm not sure if he finished with 200 hits.
No, because they were 198. Because last night Adrian Beltre tied him with 198 with his. I think he hit a double in the second inning.
So Beltre and Carpenter finished the year at 198 hits.
Yep.
Nobody in baseball finished with 200 hits.
A lot of guys swinging and missing.
Yeah.
A lot of guys having hitting 30 home runs, 100 RBIs, and hitting 240.
Yeah, I just always figured that. I just always assumed one or two guys would be up around 200 or over it. Remember the year? How many hits did Ichiro have? Was it 240 or 260 something?
It's crazy.
That's a lot of hits. But
it doesn't happen.
The Cardinals, whether it's La Russa, they didn't lose any steam with Matheny when he came in, but they always are there. They win. They're just consistent.
Yeah.
And I don't want to call them the Patriots of the MLB, but they are always there, and they are always in the mix of things.
I always compare them to the Patriots and like the San Antonio Spurs. They're just that team that, they get in and you're like, oh man, they're always there. They're always there. And they always find a way, like this year, they got hot. They're not like crazy hot, but they get like sneaky hot. Like you look at them now and like all of a sudden they tied the Red Sox for the best record in baseball. And you're like, what? The Cardinals? Everyone talked all year. Everyone talked about the Braves and the Dodgers.
Speaking of the Dodgers, moving on to the NL West, they probably were the one team that defied logic and got off to an awful start.
Yeah,
and
terrible.
Absolutely tore it up.
Yep.
And whether it's a coincidence or not, people want to put all of that and praise Puig.
Yep.
I personally think it was around the same time Josh Beckett was shut down and put on the DL.
And Greinke came back.
Yep. And that's what, just getting Beckett, because I don't like Beckett anymore. I'm thankful for what he did when he was good here, but he wore out his welcome. But they got that bad apple out of the clubhouse, off the team, and boom, they start winning all these games. So They ended up just running away with the NL West. You had the Giants winning the West.
Yep.
The Giants 2 out of the last 3 World Series.
I think, and I think you said this to me middle of the year. Oh, when you asked me the biggest disappointment, I think you're right, is I think they were just tired. They just got, because really 2010 they won it. 2011 they didn't make the playoffs, but they were in contention to the last weekend. And then 2012 they win it again. They're using the same arms. That's a lot of innings, and I think they had some tired people.
Don't want to spend too much time on the NL West, but the Diamondbacks, Kirk Gibson. Does that team surprise you at all about where they finished?
No, I thought they you look at, they competed all year. They were in first before the Dodgers got hot. I think they finished at 500, maybe a game or 2 over.
Yeah.
No, I thought they were right about where you thought. Enough to compete, but not enough to surprise you. Goldsmith's awesome. Ian Kennedy really struggled.
Yeah.
That was a guy that they needed to be very good if they were going to go over the top. Ended up trading him.
Yeah.
No, I thought they were about where I like Gibson a lot.
No Matt Kemp for the Dodgers in the postseason. He was actually on crutches.
Yeah, I saw him the other day.
Which is weird because he came back. He battling injuries all year.
Yeah.
He came back, finished the season on the field, and then now he's on crutches and he's not playing. So Ethier's been banged up.
Yep.
Be interested to see how Puig plays in the postseason when the spotlight's on him. But
Gonzalez has not been good in the postseason.
We'll see. They've got the pitching, so we'll see. They've got every former ex-closer, all-star in their bullpen, so we'll see what happens there. All right, so playoffs, you've got the Pirates and the Reds tonight in the wild card. Prediction for you think the Pirates are going to win?
Yeah, that's easy to say now because they're up 3-1 and a man on second base in the fourth. But, yeah, before that I had the Pirates winning. I'll take the Pirates. I like the Pirates a lot. The
Pirates would then move on to play the Cardinals in the NLCS?
Yeah, the NLDS.
NLDS, my apologies. Who wins that series and why?
I'm going to take, probably about a month ago, I had the Pirates going to the World Series. I think the Cardinals win it. Unlike the ALDS, the AL wild card winner, their pitching isn't set up as well. The winner of this game, guessing it's going to be the Pirates. You lose Liriano for, today's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So you're looking at probably a Game 3 start with the first 2 games in St. Louis. I just like the Cardinals. Again, they just know how to win.
The winner of that series moves on to play the winner of the Dodgers and the Braves, which I think is an interesting matchup. You've got the Dodgers, you've got the Braves with the home field advantage in that series. 2 different kind of teams. I think the Braves have, the Carlos Gomez incident where they stood up for their teammate.
Yep.
There was another incident, too.
With Fernandez when he hit the home run.
Oh, in Miami, yes.
Yeah, in Miami.
Showing a little fight maybe brings them together. They've got a little bit of an edge.
They do.
But I like that matchup. Personally, I'd like to see... deep down inside, I want to see the Red Sox beat the Indians and then the Red Sox beat the Dodgers in the World Series.
Yep.
But I would like to see the Braves beat the Dodgers in the first round, second round, whatever you want to call it, the NLDS. So who do you think wins that series?
I'm going to go upset. I think the Braves in 5.
Which isn't really an upset.
Well, everyone's picking. Actually, it really isn't because the Braves have home field, so it's not.
Dodgers pitching the Greinke and Kershaw, the Korean kid. I can't pronounce his name.
Ryu? Yeah, Ryu.
Nolasco. I really like Greinke and Kershaw, but, the Braves,
I think the Braves have been through a lot this year. I think they have, and I think the reason why no one talks about it is because it seems so easy because they got off to such a hot start and they got to such a big lead that basically everyone thought they were in cruise control, but they really weren't. They went through a lot of it was weird because it didn't really show up in the win-loss column, but you look at their lineup, the players that just did not play well.
Yeah.
I mean, I was a Dan Uggla fan. He's been awful since he's been in Atlanta.
Now's the time for them to. I mean, clean slate.
Yeah.
Dan Uggla, B.J. Upton, flush it.
They've tried.
Let's go.
They've tried so hard to make it work with Dan Uggla, and I don't know if it's just hasn't worked or he's got a lack of work. I don't know. It just
he had the laser eye surgery.
Yeah, he had the laser eye surgery. I mean, Justin Upton's been better. B.J. Upton has been a really big struggle. I like Brian McCann. I think he's going to have a big postseason. I like him behind the plate. Contract year.
I was going to say contract year, so he's going to have a big postseason.
And I give him the edge in Kimbrel. Kimbrel's the best in the game.
Nasty.
Yeah, he's been awesome.
He's nasty. All right, so in your NLCS, you have the Atlanta Braves matching up against the St. Louis Cardinals.
Yep.
Who wins and why?
Well, we're going to see a rematch of the 2004 World Series because the Cardinals are going to beat the Braves.
Yeah. Sorry, Josh Jacobs, but
yeah, sorry, Kobe. I didn't mean to do that, but Wainwright. Love Wainwright.
Yeah.
Love Wainwright.
Yeah.
Wainwright excites me more than guys like Greinke, guys like that. Kershaw is probably the best, so I can't say he's better than Kershaw, but he's been there. He's won World Series. You know, I think it'd be like 5 or 6 games.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the Reds or the Cardinals are gonna get rolling a little bit.
Lance Lynn, Shelby Miller, Wainwright. They got Rosenthal closing games out now.
Beltran in the outfield.
You know who I think
Holiday.
the key to them? Matt Holliday.
Yeah.
And not necessarily offensively.
Yep.
He has to catch the ball when it's hit to him in left field.
Yeah.
He had that game out in L.A. a couple years ago.
Oh, my goodness.
Dropped the fly ball.
Yep.
He had a couple mess-ups this year. I like Matt Holliday. I still think maybe the Red Sox should have went harder after him the year they signed Lackey.
Yep.
To solidify that left field position. But he seems like he's out of it sometimes.
Yeah.
But I think in order for them to really, I'd like to see him have a huge postseason.
Yeah, me personally, I think who makes them go is Yadier Molina.
Yeah, Yadier.
Yeah, I mean
you're biased because you're a catcher.
Yeah.
But I do agree with you.
He's been awesome, and he's done it. He was on the 2014 that lost to the Red Sox, so he's been in the World Series 3 times.
So rematch of the 2004 World Series. You have the Red Sox versus the Cardinals. The Red Sox have home field advantage again. I know you're smiling right now. You want to pick the Red Sox in 4. I can't. There's no way the Cardinals beat the Red Sox, right?
None.
Yeah.
None.
Wow. So you're going Red Sox all the way, huh?
They've come this far, you know.
Yeah.
I bought into it, and I slowly I said, you know what, I think they're going to be a playoff team. Wow, they're going to win the division. Yeah. And then they had the matchup with the Tigers, and granted Cabrera didn't play much, and when he did, he wasn't 100%. And I'm like, wow, they match up very well. And then they got hot and they played the Rays, and they went down to Tampa and started beating. I just love the way this team matches up with everyone else.
I think the Red Sox and Tigers will play in the ALCS. I see the Tigers beating them. I do. I obviously want the Red Sox to win, but I think the Tigers are going to come out of the American League. And I pick them every year, and I didn't pick them this year, but I like the Braves. I like the Braves.
Yep.
I would also, though, keep an eye on this Pittsburgh team. I think they're going to beat the Reds tonight.
Yep.
And I think they match up well with the Cardinals because they're the interdivision opponents and rivals, and they've seen each other a lot. And they've got a crazy crowd.
Yep. In
a beautiful stadium. I wouldn't be surprised if it was some random matchup like Detroit and Pittsburgh. Or even like Oakland. Imagine if it was Oakland and Pittsburgh.
Oh, dear.
I would personally. I'd love it.
Yeah.
But as like a casual baseball fan in Major League Baseball, Fox or whoever has the World Series,
he's like, no.
Please, no, anything but that. But
how about the Rays and Reds?
No. Oh man, that would be horror. But it's
look,
if
the Tigers went to the World Series, would not surprise me in the least. I just think the Cardinals are the most complete team, top to bottom from the National League, and I think the Red Sox are right there too.
Okay.
Look for guys like Stephen Drew.
Yep.
Will Middlebrooks has been hot,
Yeah.
I had always wanted them to stick with, when there was a talk, put Bogarts at third, and they still had Iglesias at the time. Middlebrooks, he's been up. He's been a big leaguer. It's time for him to get his feet wet in the postseason. I think he'll be all right. Those are the kind of guys that are going to help you.
I agree with you.
So,
bottom line is it's October. It's playoff baseball.
I think it's going to be a great playoffs.
Yeah, and I know you've said it before. Best playoffs in all sports. I do think it's up there. I think playoffs in general, whether it's basketball, hockey, football, or baseball, playoffs in general just get you excited. Me personally, this time I love April, the month of April when baseball starts. But I also this time of the year, summer's ending.
Yeah,
cool air's in.
Yep.
This is my favorite time of the year, so it's just. Everything's adding up right now. It's going to be fun. It's going to be entertaining to watch. Who knows what's going to happen? We just talked for 40 minutes about what we think is going to happen.
One of my favorite things is strategy. Smoltz actually talked about this last night. Matchups. Who are you going to bring in? Who are you going to pitch hit? Who are you going to start? Who are you going to do this? I think that's what makes it the best. The mental side of it. Is it as fast paced as hockey? Absolutely not. But I just think there's so much more to it. I think some people miss that part. That excites me, like when I'm watching it with my wife. And no, why are we sticking to this guy? That's what it's about for me. That's the favorite part.
You think some managers overthink and make moves that they wouldn't in the regular season, and they try to push the envelope instead of just trusting what got them there? Do you?
Yeah, I do.
Do you think the game speeds up or changes at all in the playoffs? Or what?
I think for some managers it does. For some guys it does. Again, and it goes back to the 37-man roster. Last night. It's okay if you want to do that, fine. But if I'm a manager, I'm going to go with what got me there. Because if it fails, at least you can say, hey, I went with my guy that had got me there. It didn't work out tonight. Imagine if you blow a game and you brought in that rookie that was, pitched a little in September, and you left a guy that had been with you, that had been successful for you all year. You're going to sit there and say, man, well, we lost, but I didn't even go to this guy.
Yeah.
When you lose on a walk-off with your closer, like if Rivera gives a walk, you say, you know what, man, I put my best guy out there. It didn't work tonight, so be it.
Absolutely.
But if you go with another guy, you're saying, I just lost, and I left one of my best guys out there, That's the thing with me. I think, you got to go with what got you there. I think you can sleep a little better at night if you lose, knowing, hey, look, you know what? It didn't work out, but I can sit there and say, you know what? I went with my best, and it didn't work. So be it.
All right. Well, that wraps up this special edition of a podcast. Blood, sweat, beards all the way through the playoffs. Kruger's got the Red Sox winning it all over the Cardinals. I've got the Tigers over.
That's not a homer pick.
Even though you do have, I like the Red Sox hat you have on tonight.
Batting practice hat.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. Sharp looking. But yeah, no, good talking to you, Krugs.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, we'll have to do this again. If the Red Sox do end up moving on in the playoffs, we'll have to do it again. Maybe we can do some kind of special podcast while the game's going on. But
absolutely,
we will check in with each other later.
Hey, one last thing. Playoff times?
Yeah.
3 o'clock on Friday, 5:30 on Saturday.
You know what's funny is I'm usually leaving the office on Friday around 3:30 or so. This Friday I have a meeting at 3:15 in Norfolk. So, yeah, 5:30 on Saturday I don't mind, but the 3 o'clock on Friday is kind of heads.
I think 5:30 on Saturday is a great time. I'd always said that, when they do the national games on Fox, 4 o'clock, it's late enough where you don't have to get in at 10 a.m., but you leave and it's still 7, and it's not like it's 11:30 or 12 o'clock at midnight. You still got some time to, go to bed at a normal hour. But 3 o'clock's weird.
It is weird.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to listen to most of the game on the radio, but I will watch Saturday night, and who knows? We'll see what happens.
Sounds good. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be exciting.
All right, Krugs.
All right, buddy. Thank you.